everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Devil's Hour, a podcast for the strange and unusual, where we cover all things true crime, horror, and paranormal. I'm your host, Darius, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Judah.
What's up?
Angel.
Yo.
And our recurring guest host, Michael.
Hello.
Round of applause.
Again.
Hello again. Today, we're going to be covering the creepy and mysterious origin of the Ouija board.
Ouija or Ouija?
Oh, what did I say? Did I say Ouija?
You said Ouija.
Damn it.
Oh,
Damn.
man.
I feel like I
already
grew up,
fucking up.
Yeah, I grew up saying
damn it.
Ouija, but it's Ouija. Okay, Ouija board. There you go, Ouija, because there's an A there. But did anyone else grow up saying Ouija? Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think we've all been introduced to it as Ouija.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how that started. Like, I wonder, like, because like it's not spelled Ouija at all.
Yeah, no.
There's definitely an A. at the
Yeah.
end.
I don't know. I just feel like everyone I've ever
know,
spoken
yeah.
to like pronounces it Ouija.
Yeah, and I've never met anybody say Ouija. I think that's why it makes it confusing, too. It's already spelled weird, and then the way everybody says it makes it even
Yeah.
more
It's like,
weirder.
is it A silent or something?
Yeah, it's like Ouija.
But even if the A is silent, then it's just Widge.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's true.
I don't know where that E comes from, but so the Ouija board. I guess what made me want to really dive into this topic per se is I saw The Exorcist for the first time. I want to say like 6 months ago.
Damn.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, I'd never seen The Exorcist,
Dang.
the original. Yeah, Exorcist. I'd never seen it before, and so I checked it out. And obviously, for those who have seen it, you know, Reagan, the little girl,
Right.
is essentially possessed possessed by the spirit that she communicated with while she was playing with the Ouija board, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
And that story is actually based on a real life event, but it was a little boy, and I think it was in Maryland.
Yes, that is also correct.
Yeah, so like when I heard that, I was like, okay, like, and of course I had already heard stories of Ouija boards and like, you know, the power that they have or don't have, whatever you believe. But it really like made me want to like dive into the topic of how did this thing even like, you know,
Get created.
how is this thing
Become
even like
a
exist?
popular thing to talk to the other side, you can say.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, I think that talking to the dead has actually been common throughout many years when I was doing my research, or even most recent. You know, when you mentioned the topic of doing the Ouija board, not too long ago, it was Dia de los Muertos, which is a Day of the Dead.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mexican tradition where, I mean, I do it. I make an altar and I'll cook food and I'll, you know, play my, you know, whoever's the lost ones the people that I've lost, I'll make them their favorite food and play their favorite music and stuff. And that's the form of communication with the other side or the dead. Yeah. If you watch Coco or whatever, they're talking to the other side, you know?
I just saw that like yesterday.
Yeah, so that's like, you know, and so you have Ouija, it's another form of communication. And then the Egyptians also, apparently, they too would talk to the dead, and they'd actually write letters to the dead. Sometimes even like controversial letters, like "you motherfucker, you've left the stove on," or like you know shit like that, and and expecting letters to come back from the other side. So I think throughout the history, it's been pretty common. But how this came about, the Ouija board itself, the talking board, I'm pretty interested in hearing more about that, man.
Hell
For
yeah!
sure.
Let's dive into it, shall we? All right, so the Ouija board the history of the Ouija board spans 2 decades, and was born as a byproduct of the beginning and the exploration of spiritualism. Spiritualism started in the early to mid 1800s in Europe, and by spiritualism I mean like seances, conversing with the dead, spiritual wrappings, which we'll get into what that means in a little bit. But spiritualism really picked up in the U.S. around 1850, and the primary cause of this is due to the Civil War and all the casualties that the Civil War brought. There was a lot of deaths surrounding that war. I think the Civil War was I don't even know how to explain it, but it, like the most casualties out of any war, I think, was the Civil War. I think 1 million men died in that war. So during that time period was just a super dark time period for the country. And there was just like death everywhere, you know, and people were really looking for escape. You know, like escapism was on a lot of people's minds,
Right.
because death was rampant and it was war. The actual fun fact: so the average life expectancy during that time was less than 50 years old. So that's like super young. Like for the average person to die at like less than 50, that's crazy.
Yes, death was around the corner for sure. I could see why people would be drawn to that and want to seek answers, especially losing people left and right, wanting to communicate or just not knowing. I mean, it's the 1800s. There's no cell phones. There's no other form of communication. All you get is like a
They were
like
very
a
bored.
letter, huh?
They're very bored.
I know. Like, what do they
Right?
do?
Yeah.
To occupy their time.
There's no TV, man.
Yeah.
No, but like you were saying, also knowing that it could happen to you any day. Life expectancy was really short. You're like, dude, this is coming for me. Like at any moment, I want to know.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially
you just wait.
Yeah, even with all the illnesses, like they don't have modern medicine like we do. So obviously
Yeah, man,
Life
diarrhea will
expectancy
kill
would
you
be-
at that time.
Yeah,
diarrhea. That's the first thing I'd ask the Ouija, like, will I die of diarrhea?
like down the toilet.
All right, so then how'd they make the board? What?
Oh yeah. So okay. So like back then, a lot of people. I mean, the kids would die at a young age. Some kids would die at a young age. There was like diseases. You had the Civil War going on. There's just a lot of reasons that death was so rampant. It wasn't just the war. So like times were bleak, right? But even Mary Todd Lincoln, who was the wife of President Abraham Lincoln, she conducted seances in the White House after their 11-year-old son died of a fever in 1862. They conducted seances, which I thought was crazy. I've never
Seances in the White
President.
House.
Yeah, the president's. I'm not sure if like Abraham Lincoln participated in it, but I know like his wife conducted them. So
Oh, man,
I think
he had
that's
a top
interesting.
hat, man. Of course he did it, man. You seen those seances? There's always someone with the top hat. Man.
So like spiritualism gained tons and tons of believers, and people just really desperate to connect with their loved ones and people who had gone away to war and never came back. And there's really like a lot of controversy surrounding like the Ouija board and who like officially created it. But if we really want to dive into like the history of the Ouija board and where that like communicating with the dead for money, where that idea really originated, we can't discuss that without discussing the Fox sisters. That's where it really began. So the Fox sisters hailed from upstate New York, and it was Maggie and Kate Fox, and I believe they were 14 and 11 years old, so they were like kids. Yeah, they were kids. Yeah,
14 and 11. Damn.
they were like 14 and 11, I believe. It's either 14 or 13. But yeah, one of them was for sure 11. And these sisters played a massive role in the spread of spiritualism and the spread of like communicating with the dead. They were like self-proclaimed mediums who were supposedly able to communicate with the dead and often perform seances. They used what was known as spiritual rappings to communicate with the dead. And spiritual rappings is the use of letters and knocks and taps to speak with spirits. So it was like 2 knocks for yes and 1 knock for no kind of thing. Nothing like too crazy,
Yeah.
But that's how they would communicate or that's how they would conduct these seances. And it ended up becoming, as I was doing some research about these sisters, like they ended up like selling out like theaters. People would go to I think they started doing like $1. I think it was like $1 per seance. So people would go to their house to try to get these girls to speak to their loved ones for $1. So they would do dollar seances.
What era was this in again?
The 1800s. So this was probably like 1860s.
So this is back when
50s?
$1 was like a decent amount of money.
Yeah, for sure. Because I definitely remember reading an article where they talked about how like the sisters would do these seances in their house and they would charge $1. And I think you can visit their house, the Fox House. I forgot. I'm assuming it's in New York, but I think you can visit it today. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. But what I found even more interesting was the fact how like it just took off with them. Like they really were the catalysts, because that whole like essentially what they did was they started their own business, right? So like they started like $1 for seances and we'll speak to your loved ones. They really convinced people that they could speak to the dead. And so they started selling out. They went from doing that in their house to selling out theaters. Like people would actually pay more money to go see them perform. Well, perform, right? Or whatever.
Seance, yeah.
Yeah, hold a seance and speak to the dead.
I mean, that's ultimately what they were doing, was performing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Which brings me to my next point, which, funny enough, after all of this in 1888, they actually openly admitted that all of this was a prank and like it was all fake. Like that they, the reason how they were actually able to do this and fool people was it's like kind of weird, but they were able to pop their toes without moving their feet. So people would think, and they said that like them doing it like against the hardwood floor or against their floors would like make it sound louder. So it would make it sound like in other words, it didn't sound like someone was popping their toes or like a joint.
Yeah.
Because I guess the reverberation, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
This is just like what they said, but they could pop their toes without moving their feet, and that's how they would fool people. And again, this is like from the horse's mouth. Like
You're like trying it over there right now, aren't you? I can
I'm
see your
trying
face.
right now. He's like, pop my toes, man.
and actually, but yeah. So that's like I don't know. That was pretty crazy to me that they were able to fool so many people and.
Well, it was the 1800s, so.
They're very bored.
Education was different.
Yeah. So Michael's saying people were stupid back then.
We were.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but so.
But also, I think people were very desperate at that moment too.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the deaths.
They'd be willing to believe it just to for a glimpse of hope to
Yes.
talk.
Thank you
to
for making
whoever.
me look like the asshole.
No, like that's a great point. Like I think people were just part of it was maybe they were stupid and they were like just fooled into believing that this thing.
Gullible, yeah.
Yeah, but the part of it was maybe they were just so desperate that they wanted to desperately.
You just want to believe it.
Right. I think there's got to be I think there's like a scientific word for that when you're like trying to, you're trying to find someone who agrees with you. Like you're trying to find an opinion that you agree with and that's what you latch onto. I'm pretty sure there's a scientific word for that. But I can't think of it at the moment. But that's what comes to mind when you said that, like,
Right.
It's easy for them to believe because they wanted to believe.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Right. You could connect dots. If you want to connect dots to whatever, you can, do that. You'll find the dots, if you really want to believe it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. This is kind of a separate subject, but like that's how I feel about the whole like zodiac thing. Like people with like who are super into astrologies.
Yeah.
Like people are, like astrology and astrological signs, like, oh, like you're a Cancer, or man, you're such a Virgo.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're such a Leo, you're full of yourself. I'm
Yeah,
like, what?
yeah. Like, I have a lot of friends who are like big on that, and I know they're probably gonna like talk so much shit about me because of this.
So much shit.
But like, I personally don't really believe in that. I don't subscribe to like the whole astrology, like zodiac thing.
yeah.
I feel like it's all like psychological. Like you're gonna latch on to. You could find attributes that pertain to you in any zodiac sign, So I feel like it's kind of. I don't know. I feel like it's much to say that like your personality is like based on like a sign, or
Right.
I don't know, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, so the Fox sisters were fooling people,
Right.
and they were popping their toes to make people
Believe it
believe
was
in
the
this.
knocking?
Yeah, the tappings and stuff. But like, so even after they came forward and said, "Hey, like this was like all fake,"
Right.
they came clean. Like it didn't matter. Like they had already spread. Like spiritualism had already spread, and there was like hundreds, if not thousands, of other people and businesses already doing this, like other mediums. So it's like it's already like the damage was done.
Once the flame's been lit, it's just gonna keep going.
Right.
Exactly. So that leads to like the next point. This massive like amount of interest and popularity with communicating with the dead caught the eye and interest of a businessman by the name of Elijah Bond. Elijah Bond was a Elijah Bond was a part owner and shareholder of the Kennard Novelty Company, who saw a business opportunity with communicating with the dead. So prior to Elijah Bond, the use of words and letters to communicate with the dead had already been around for some time, but he saw a growing market in selling the tools that enables you to speak to the dead in the format of a parlor game. So that's what made him different from like the things that had already existed before. He wanted to make it more accessible, and he wanted to make it more, more like a game.
Right,
more like a board game. And that's where the idea came from. So pretty much, he wanted to sell it on a retail level, on the retail market. And so Bond was really the one who was responsible for making the Ouija board popular and mainstream, which has earned him the title of the creator of the Ouija board. And Elijah Bond and the Kennard Novelty Company had everything in place for the creation of the Ouija board, except it just didn't have a name yet. So at the time, I think they were just referring it to as a spirit board or a talking board.
Talking board, right.
So does anybody know how it got, their name?
No.
As if I didn't go back and listen to the the original first episode.
That's right.
But I was going to ask because I feel like even in that one and even now, like I'm still lost as to who exactly designed it. Because like he had the idea for marketing it and everything, but who actually like designed what it was going to look like and how it was supposed to work? Like, where did that come from?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's like some debate about who the actual like architect of the actual board is. So the actual like construction of the Ouija board, like how it looks, with the by the way, this is Angel's DIY.
Yeah.
we don't own a Ouija board, so Angel had to be our artistic buddy. He made this beautiful board. It's better than the real one.
He spent an arduous 10
beautiful.
minutes working on it.
That was a brutal 10 minutes.
It looks great. Looks beautiful. But anyway, as far as who constructed, like how it looks, the yes and the no, the goodbye, who came up with that, the person responsible for that is Charles Kennard and his business partner, E.C. Reich. And so they went into business together, and they were the ones who actually designed the board. And that's, Charles Kennard started a company, the Kennard Novelty Company. And that's when Elijah Bond really took that and created it, moved it from being just a talking board to what we know today as the Ouija board. But how did we get the name Ouija? Where did that come from? We have the talking board, we have the elements, we have what it looks like because of, Charles Kennard. But how did we get the name? So it's actually a very, very interesting story of how we got the name. So Elijah Bond, he was playing with the board with his sister-in-law, who he says was a strong medium, and they asked the board what it wanted to be called. And the board spelled out Ouija. Essentially, the board named itself.
It's creepy.
And yeah, it's really creepy, right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, what the hell? And so they asked the board, what does that mean? And they said, and the board spelled out good luck. And it turns out that the word Ouija is actually an ancient Egyptian word for good luck.
Dang.
And that's pretty freaking crazy. And a fun fact before we start commenting on it is that the building where this seance happened, the building where the Ouija board named itself essentially, is actually a 7-Eleven in Baltimore. And there's a plaque in the 7-Eleven that states that this is where the Ouija board was named, where the seance was held, like all this. You can actually go visit, like a lot of tourists go.
Right here next to the hot wings and roller items.
This is where the seance
This
took
is
place.
where the Ouija board was named.
Right next to the
Ouija,
Slurpees and the condoms. Magnum only.
Cheetos.
Out of all the places, fucking
Out of all the
7-Eleven.
places, dude, it's a 7-Eleven now.
What are the condoms doing next to the Slurpee machine?
Slurpee machine.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hey, don't judge, bro. Come on. But okay, what do you think about that? That tripped me out when I've heard that that's how the Ouija board got its name, that it named itself.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the Rolling Stones song. The where it's like, "Nice to meet you. Hope you guess my name" type shit.
Oh yeah,
where
Sympathy
it's
for the
just-
Devil.
Dude, I
There you
Love
go.
that song.
Right. That's what.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Like maybe it didn't really say its name. Maybe it's just saying like "good luck finding out." Maybe it's not named "good luck." Maybe it's
A
"good
warning?
luck, motherfuckers."
Yeah, I was
finding
gonna
out.
say or a warning.
Yeah, I
like,
took
yeah.
it more as a
Yeah.
warning for sure. I took the good luck as
Good luck with the aftermath, buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's super creepy.
I think that's super dope. I think they should make maybe they have, but I feel like they should make a movie about it. I know there's the Ouija.
Yeah, because I don't
horror
remember
franchise.
Ouija Origins or whatever. Origins of Evil, I think
I
it's
didn't
called.
see that.
Oh yeah, that movie.
I don't remember them even bringing how it was created or I mean, it's been a long time since I
They
saw
didn't even
it.
mention the 7-Eleven.
They mentioned the
Or
condoms
like-
next to the
Or the
Slurpee.
fact that it named itself.
Well, dude, because like the Ouija, you're talking about Ouija, the horror franchise.
Yeah,
yeah.
the
The
movie.
Origin of Evil movie. It explains like. I think it's just it actually doesn't have anything to do with how like Ouija
creation of the
creation
board.
of the board. It just I think it's just like the spirit or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's kind of.
But yeah, no, that's interesting. But I definitely want to go visit that 7-Eleven. I think that would be dope.
Sure, get some.
Imagine
condoms
somebody
and Slurpees.
decides to do like a history report on the Ouija board, and they use that movie as a reference.
Oh
That'd be
man,
way the fuck off.
I feel like someone would maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point in time, we now have the Ouija board. It was called the talking board. The construction, we have the name now. Now all they had to do was get a patent for it. So the Washington Patent Office was reluctant to give the Ouija board its patent because in order to gain a patent, you have to actually prove that your product works. So the chief patent officer demanded a demonstration if the board could accurately spell out his name, which was unknown to Bond and his sister-in-law. Her name was Helen Peters. That's the name of the sister-in-law who like Elijah Bond did the seance with to get the Ouija board name, and that's who he was with when they were like trying to get it patented. So Bond and his sister-in-law Helen Peters, they didn't know this patent officer's name or anything, but the patent officer was like, "Yo, if this can guess my name or whatever, then I'll give you the patent because then it works or whatever." So the board was used in front of the chief patent officer by Elijah Bond and Helen Peters, who claimed to be medium, and neither of them knew the patent officer's name. Yet the Ouija board spelled out his name accurately, and the talking board was officially created in 1886, but it officially became licensed and named the Ouija board on February 10th, 1891. So actually, a couple of years after the Fox sisters admitted that they were phonies. 1888, because they admitted that in 1888. So 1891, Ouija board became official. So the first patent the first patent of the Ouija board offers no explanation as to how the device works. It just asserts that it does work. And the ambiguity and mystery was part of a more... It was part of like a marketing tactic, like to make it more mysterious, to make it more like, you know, like, oh damn, like I really want to like check this out. I really want to buy it because it doesn't say how it works, you know? So ultimately the Ouija board really became like a moneymaker. This thing.
Yeah, but how did they market that, these guys, is what I'm wondering. I know it was a novelty thing, man. Spiritualism was big, but I mean, how do you go about saying like, hey, I have this talking board where you could talk to the dead? Well, I guess that sells itself. And
There you go.
basically, I guess I answered my own
That
shit.
just came full circle. So moving on.
Hey, check out this book.
Well,
Shit.
they advertise it as a game, you know. They advertise it as like a family friendly
Family friendly?
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
because like, and you know we'll get further into it, but it essentially is now owned by Hasbro, which is they're the same people that make Monopoly, you know, or like they make a lot of
Well, I
board
think it was
games.
Parker Brothers, and then it went
Yeah,
to
Parker Brothers, and then
Right.
Hasbro's, which is like a game company.
Yeah.
A board game. So it's like I think it was just advertised as being like something that anyone could do, you know, or like it's kind of funny. I was reading that like 200 years before the Ouija board was created, if you were talking to the dead, if anyone was talking to the dead, women, specifically women though, let's like specifically, you would be hung at the Salem witch trials. You know, 200, literally just 200 years, and 200 years after, women are being paid to talk to the dead.
Right, the Fox sisters.
Yeah, Fox sisters, mediums, you know, to conduct seances.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty crazy how just like time changes. Like people like, it seems like we just get more progressive with history, with time.
Yeah.
With time.
The time.
Take a pause.
With time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I dig it. Yeah.
by 1893, Elijah Bond was no longer running the Kennard Novelty Company, and in 1919, William Fuld bought the company and gained the rights and licenses to make the Ouija board. William Fuld was an American businessman, inventor, and entrepreneur who is best known for the marketing and manufacturing of the Ouija board and is seen and also called the father of the Ouija board. So Elijah Bond's known as the creator of the Ouija board, but William Fuld is known as the father of it. I feel like, you know, William Fuld took it to another level. Like, I think William Fuld was really the one who, popularized it and made it like a household name with his marketing and all of that.
He just did a better job.
Pretty much, yeah. Like Elijah Bond walked so that William Fuld could run, essentially. So Fuld...
And Hasbro could fly.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, exactly. You're so smart.
Thank you.
Folds oversaw the manufacture and retail progress of the board after the efforts of its creator, Elijah Bond. It was marketed as a dating activity, which you asked.
Oh, snap.
And many young and single people would buy these boards as a way to rekindle a relationship or as an activity that you could do with your significant other. Because you would do it in a dark setting usually. You would hold hands. You would light candles. Put on some Barry White in the background.
Sade. Put some Sade on.
Yeah, Sade.
Snap. Yeah.
You know.
Vandross. Little Juanita.
Dang. Yeah, no, for real though. But yeah, so that's how it was marketed. There you go. Your question wasn't answered, my friend.
There you go. Yeah.
Or at least that's how it was initially marketed. It was also advertised as something that was quote unquote fun for the whole family and something that you do at social gatherings or parties with friends. It was portrayed as a positive and lighthearted fun activity, and thus it was able to sell it was just it became a money machine because it was able to sell like that, making its way into American households everywhere as well into the mainstream. So yeah, man, that's you asked that question. That's
yes, I mean, it's just hard for me to wrap my head around it because there's such a negative, thing to it. You know, I mean, but that's for us. You know, I mean, I putting ourselves in that time period. I guess it wasn't just wasn't as negative. That fucking Exorcist movie just fucked shit up. It really did.
Well, yeah, I feel like during that time period, like you said, there wasn't negative connotations with the Ouija board. I'm sure there were with like religious circles. Like, yeah, I'm sure there was Protestants and Catholics who were like
but so
crazy
was like a
against
short
it.
Dress or some shit.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Was negative too. You know,
you know, like there was definitely like religious zealots who were like really against this, but it didn't have like now, like you said, we associate the Exorcist case with a Ouija board. We associate a lot of other cases with a Ouija board. Like it has this like stigma of like, ooh, don't mess with that. It's dangerous or it's bad or it's evil. Yeah. But back then, I guess it wasn't really considered that, or at least William Fuld really advertised it as, like it being a fun activity that you could do with the family and you did it at parties, you know, like it was like the modern, or not the modern, I guess the old version of like Cards Against Humanities. You know, you just do it with friends. Yeah. Have a good time with it.
Yeah.
The Ouija board was so popular that in May 1920, Norman Rockwell, who was the illustrator of a popular magazine back then, depicted a man and woman playing with the Ouija board on their knees, communicating with the beyond on the cover of Saturday Evening Post, which I guess just goes to show you like what was popular during the time. You know, like people wanted to see that, and that was like, you know, because you know the news and magazines are going to only show you like what the trends are and what people want to see. You know, or at least that's how it is now. You know, and the biggest sale of Ouija boards is usually during times of depression, stress, or crisis. People use it for escapism or to distract themselves from the problems that are going on in real life. Like during the Great Depression, the Fuld Company opened new factories to meet demands of the boards. And over 5 months in 1944, a single New York department store sold 50,000 boards.
Damn.
And in 1967, the year after Parker Brothers, which you mentioned that earlier, 1967, the year after Parker Brothers bought the game from the Fuld Company, 2 million boards were sold, outselling Monopoly. So that same year saw more American troops in Vietnam. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. That's crazy. So I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, so the 1967 was the year after the Parker Brothers bought it from the Fuld Company. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it sold 2 million boards, outselling Monopoly. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so what I'm gathering from you so far is now would be a great time to buy some stock in Hasbro because we're about to go into a recession. Or we're in it. Or...
Yeah, I feel like we're in one.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Because during times of like financial crisis or war, that's when people want more escape than ever. Whether that's TV shows or movies or film or art or like.
I wonder how many.
Communicating with the dead. Yeah.
Wonder how many seances took place during COVID, and if
Damn.
what Ouija board took place in that.
Probably a lot.
I don't know. I didn't fuck with it. Have you guys ever fucked with it? Before we can move on real quick, you guys ever fuck with it?
Not me personally, but I like watched some people mess with it. I don't think anything really became of it though, because they kind of did like what you did. They like just drew it up, and I don't know. I always felt like they were just fucking around and they were just moving it. I didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
But I mean, the school we were in, because it was like after school, me and some friends were just like fucking around. And supposedly this school's like really haunted. So like I don't know, maybe they were speaking with somebody. I don't know.
Shit. You still talk to them? Like, did you find out like an aftermath about it?
Well, one of them was my girlfriend at the time, and nothing. She never told me anything happened afterwards.
Yeah.
Still in contact with her. The other guy, actually, now that I think about it, he passed away not like a couple of years ago. But I don't think that has anything to do with it. Right. He was sick. So.
Oh shit.
But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they were moving it. Maybe they weren't. I had a girlfriend who told me one time she used again, same thing, drew up a Ouija board to try and figure out why weird shit was happening in her house.
Oh,
and I can't remember the rest of the story, though. I was going to try and find out. So that was, like, useless.
That was a good story, man. Dude,
oh, my God.
I can't remember. All I remember is...
Jesus. He's like building up this juicy story. He's setting it up beautifully, like, laying it, like, character developments, my girlfriend, spooky shit's happening in the house. So she draws up this Ouija board, but I don't remember anything else. Like, I don't remember...
I can't remember. I think it like spelled out the word death or something like that. Because I remember later she felt like the presence was in her closet. And so she sat in front of it with her eyes closed and just kind of like let her hands start drawing stuff. And she wound up drawing the Grim Reaper. So I don't know.
Damn.
Yeah, supposedly that house was really haunted as well. Because she wasn't the only one who was feeling weird shit in there.
Really?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Have you played it?
Did that salvage it? Was that better? Are you happy with that?
That's a good. Yeah, that was good.
We want the truth, Michael. Okay, you don't remember it. Just say you don't remember it. Wait. Okay. Yeah. Have you played? You played it,
yeah. I've fucked with it. Yeah, I've fucked with it once. It was me, my friend Danny, and then like his girlfriend, and then we were looking for someone else because none of us wanted to fucking buy the Ouija board or carry it or have it with us for some reason. Yeah. So we ended up finding someone who had it. So, we invited him over like, hey, you should come hang out with us and bring your Ouija board too. And so we found a spot. We ended up going to this closed park, late at night, trying to catch that witching hour, right? 3 o'clock in the morning and shit.
Devil's hour.
Yeah, the devil's hour.
Devil's hour.
The devil's hour. But yeah, man. So we fucking go to this park and shit, and we bust out the Ouija board, and we start asking questions and shit. It's all creepy and stuff. You hear the swings. It's not windy, but you hear the swings.
Yeah, the creak.
Man. I was just like, oh, whatever, dude. And we're asking questions, and it was like the same thing. Like we're. Oh, you're moving it. Nah, you're moving it. Oh, shit, you know what? I think I moved it. And it was just that the whole fucking time. It was just like, just skepticism. Yeah. And so, whatever. We closed it. We still said goodbye, just, whatever. I said a little prayer because I was scared. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, walking out, to myself, like, oh, God, man, shit. But, man, we went home and everything was cool. But then, apparently, my friend Danny, he had went home. And his parents were out of town at the time. So he went home and he went to sleep. And then he heard like a lot of knocking on the front door. So he's like, oh, fuck, he's all groggy and shit. He wakes up and he goes and opens the door. And then he just walks back to his bedroom. But then there's nothing. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, what was that all about? So he goes out and he looks and there's nobody there. Nobody's outside. There's no cars or nothing. He's like, oh, shit. So he ends up calling his parents and stuff like, hey, do you guys hear? You guys knocking or what? What the fuck? And they're like, no, we're not even coming in until tomorrow. So that's when he was starting to freak out, like, oh shit, what the fuck? Like, who the fuck was knocking?
Yeah.
And what did I just let in my house? He was pretty pissed off about the whole thing, because we were scared of that happening. It ended up happening. Nothing else creepy happened after that, but that was pretty weird.
Yeah. So the knock on the door would happen just once?
It just happened. Yeah, it was like a continuous knocking, just like nonstop knocking.
Right, I gotta confess, bro, that was me, dude.
That was like fucking
ding dong ditch,
It makes
bro.
sense. Ding dong ditch at 4.
Bro, I was
You know what's
wild.
funny is that it literally could have been what it was.
It could have.
And it just happened to happen on the same
No,
day.
it was like pretty. It was like 4:30 in the morning or something. Now that's pretty gnarly time to go ding dong ditching.
That's true. You never know, man. Maybe
I mean, who knows?
Man, if it was a spirit, that's a lazy ass spirit.
That's a lazy.
Like you're just gonna knock, like you're a
Fuck it.
demon and you're just gonna knock on the door and then call it a day. Like you're not gonna haunt this bitch. Like what? Not to call your friend a
My
bitch.
quota
I'm sure
was
he's a
just
nice
for the
guy.
number of houses.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. I said endearing. You've seen Mean
Of
Girls.
course.
They call their friends bitches. Y'all my bitches. we're good. We're friends.
The devil's hours, bitches.
It's actually funny. When I was thinking of a name for the podcast, one of my friends was like, "Why don't you call the podcast?" Because at the time it was just going to be true crime. It wasn't going to be like horror and paranormal.
Yeah.
He was like, "Why don't you call the podcast Crime Sluts?" And I was like, "Dude, that's a fucking great name. I like that a lot." But obviously, we decided not to go with that, and we're more than just true crime, so But I still like that a lot, Crime Sluts. So like. Okay, so 1967 was a really, really good year for the Ouija board. Well, what happened in 1967? So the Vietnam War was going on, and we deployed a lot of troops during that year.
Yeah.
Also, there was the race riots in Detroit, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Newark, So there was a lot of political and social unrest, and there was war going on.
And spiritualism was on a rise at that time too.
Oh, yeah,
Woodstock and LSD taking. Everybody was trying to go to the other side in some shape or form. So
That's true. Break on through, brother.
Break
on through, brother.
Same thing. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah.
Stupid.
You got Charles Manson and shit.
Oh, yeah, the same time, yeah.
Wait, what was that?
Charles Manson.
Oh,
that's at the same time.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the 70s, I mean, I guess, okay, so like the late 60s to like the 80s for serial killers was such a crazy time.
Yeah,
like
it's
so
rampant.
many serial killers, like during that era.
It was a good year for serial killers.
Yeah,
It was a
dude.
good decade. It was a good,
It was a good like decade and a half.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fuck serial killers, man. But anyways, yeah, go on.
So William Fuld, like I said, he would often play with the Ouija board, and he would communicate with spirits for business decisions and for just for life decisions and stuff like that. And he was playing with the Ouija board, and the Ouija board instructed him to build a large manufacturing facility or factory in Baltimore. And it said, like, quote, the direct quote said, "Prepare for big business." So he got direct orders from the Ouija board, so the story goes, to build this warehouse in Baltimore and to prepare for big business. So that's what he does. He starts building this this factory, I guess, and starts manufacturing the Ouija boards. And so he was overseeing the installation of a flagpole at the top of the roof, and apparently he lost his footing and fell. And while he was falling, he clutched a windowsill, and when he clutched it, the window slammed shut, and so he, it slammed shut on his hand, so he fell. And when he fell, supposedly the building was like 3 stories. So it was like a big building, but he managed to survive the fall. That's what's crazy about it. Damn. He managed to survive the fall. However, he did obtain broken bones, including a broken rib. And so, the ambulance came, and on his way to the hospital, the ambulance hit a bump in the road, and his broken rib punctured his heart, and that's how he died.
Shit.
Wow.
Damn.
That sucks.
Almost made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. That's like Final Destination shit, dude. Final Destination shit right there.
Yeah, so the Ouija board made him do this, and then make this fucking warehouse, blah blah blah, yada yada, and then go up to the roof, and then so almost like the Ouija board initially killed him.
That's kind of exactly. I was thinking about that. As I was doing research, like it told him to do this, right? And he's on top of the roof, like overseeing, there's construction workers or whatever. and he was like overseeing like a flagpole thing, and he lost his footing. So yeah, you could say that the Ouija board literally did kill him, which is insane. I just think his death is like one of the most fascinating things about the origin of the Ouija board to me. Like one of the most fascinating things is like the Ouija board naming itself.
Right.
But the close second to me was like his death for sure.
Yeah.
Like he almost survived. He survived like falling from like a 3-story building. That's like insane. Like I don't know how you survive that. And then like to die that way, like
it was like, oh no, you're not getting away, motherfucker.
yeah, that's like literally Final Destination. Have you seen Final
Destination?
No.
shit.
But I know what you're talking about. I mean, everybody gets the concept.
Yeah, you know Final Destination, and you do too. Right?
Yeah. It was like, oh shit, I almost, yes,
you escaped death.
I escaped death, and then bam, no fucking window shuts. Oh shit, you survived the fall. Whoo! Then you fucking get to the ambulance and. Damn, you fucking go. It's like, nah, you're gonna die.
Because of a fucking speed bump, bro. Like his broken rib. That's insane.
There was a woman in the 1900s, I think, who supposedly started talking to a poet who had passed away, and she started writing poetry using the Ouija board, and she wrote books based off of that.
I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah. And then the guy from the Alcoholics Anonymous, he used the Ouija board to contact a monk, and that's how he ended up finding the 12 steps.
Huh.
It was through the Ouija board. Yeah, he used the Ouija board, and he got
big.
the 12 steps from the Ouija. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know. It's so easy to say Ouija board because
It's ingrained in us. I've been saying it for like so long.
Where's the G come from? Where's the G? Like
That's
Ouija.
the real mystery of the
I don't
Ouija
know.
board.
I'm just being dramatic. Ouija is fine. Okay, but like no. So it's the guy who created Alcoholic Anonymous.
Yeah, the Alcoholics Anonymous. He came up with the 12 steps from Ouija.
Using the Ouija board.
Using the Ouija board.
Wow, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
That's crazy.
Dang, that's crazy. It just keeps getting crazier and crazier. So apparently, while he was on his deathbed, Folds told his children not to manufacture any more boards because he felt they were dangerous and were the cause of his ill fate. Because you know how he got his heart punctured by the rib?
Wouldn't he die automatically?
Apparently not.
What the heck? He survives a fall, gets his heart stabbed, and he's in his deathbed saying, "Don't make any more boards."
Well, he was. I mean, people get their heart. I don't know, honestly.
People survive some crazy shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say people do survive some crazy shit, but also like, you know, like he was dying. Like, there's no doubt about that. But he could still like he was on his deathbed. It says so. Maybe that was like his dying breath, is what he said.
He died instantly the next day.
Where's that from?
That's hot rod, right?
All right.
Oh, that was hot rod.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so like, yeah, Folds on his deathbed told his children not to manufacture any more boards, but they clearly didn't listen because, you know, it's money, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Folds died in
Money talks louder than you, Pop.
That's true.
Pretty much what they said.
Folds died in 1927, so yeah, he would be with us today if there was no more potholes and speed bumps.
27.
There's no way.
It was a joke. It was
I was
a
about
joke.
to. I was already doing the math in my head. Like,
Maybe like
bro,
120
bro,
years.
no.
Like, depending how old he was there.
Yeah. No, he for sure wouldn't be. But
No.
so interesting fact: Elijah Bond, the creator of the Ouija board, his sister-in-law, who was a medium or a self-proclaimed medium, years later, when she was older, she sold all of her stock in the company, and the company that produces Ouija boards, and she supposedly denounced the Ouija board, saying that it was evil and that it was responsible for tearing her family apart, and she advised people to stay away from it, which I thought was pretty freaking crazy because this is Helen Peters, who is literally was there in the original seance
To name it.
to name the Ouija board
Yeah.
at that 7-Eleven, bro.
I was about to say right next to the wings,
Right
and
next
the
to the
roller items.
condoms and the
Condoms and
Slurpees.
Slurpees.
At the 7.
Dude, that's huge. That's huge.
But
Like,
why did she do that? Why did she all of a sudden? How do you go from this is the shit and I'm gonna help do this to fuck that, it's evil, blah blah.
Well,
blah.
I feel like if you have the power to discern, you know, like
What's
to
good
help
and
get it
evil.
named and everything, like you have that sense, you have that instinct to know what you're dealing with is either good or bad. She probably saw that in it and was like, we shouldn't have done this. Like instant regret.
yeah,
like Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park,
Stop to
yeah.
think. You know, can we create it? Should we have created
exactly.
it?
Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. But I don't really, to answer your question, it never really says Why? Like she.
Well, we just said like a tore her family apart, right? Or
Yeah,
something.
that's true. Yeah,
I wonder if like
Yeah.
It had to do with money, actually. I actually researched this.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so the story goes that, it became to a financial thing. So she's like, we'll settle this through the Ouija board. And the Ouija board ended up turning against her and saying, like, it was like the rights, like, well, who created it, blah, blah, blah. And turned against her, and she ended up losing it. She's like, nah, fuck that board. It's a liar. It's evil. And that's where the big conflict came between them was the Ouija turned against her.
Oh, I got you.
And she was
That
the
makes
one,
sense.
like you said, who created it, blah, blah, blah. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Or was one of the ones. Yeah.
one of the ones. Yeah.
Dang,
yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I remember reading something
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that. That's crazy.
It's funny how there's these constant red flags, and
Yeah.
people just keep making it. People just keep doing it.
Well, to be fair, I feel like a lot of people don't know this history, you know? Like, at least, like, from the audience perspective. Like, a lot of people who...
Oh yeah,
who
but I
use
mean,
it.
like in the
Yeah.
in the chain of people who have, touched this and managed and
Okay.
like, what am I looking for? Manufactured and progressed
Oh,
its popularity, marketing it, selling it, and whatnot.
Yeah. No, you're right. A lot of red flags ignored. So I think that's a lesson we can all learn. Don't ignore the red flags. And in a relationship...
We need a
Yeah, that's
Warren
crazy. A
Hasbro.
lot of red flags, but yet it sold a lot during
Yeah.
those
Which is
dark
all
times.
they saw, And I think a lot of people, when they see something that's going to make them a lot of money, they figure like they rationalize it in their head, like nothing bad's going to happen to me. I'll be fine. I mean, other people will get fucked, and that's fine because all I care about is me and my money.
Right.
But no,
Yeah. No, man. It's crazy. Well, let's talk a little bit about the setup of the Ouija board. So the Ouija board has numbers 0 through 9 and letters A through Z, and the words yes, no, and goodbye inscribed on the board. Board comes with a wooden piece called a planchette, and all users are required to place one finger. I dated a planchette once. Just kidding. A girl named
a hard
Planchette.
piece of wood. Really?
A girl
Is that
named
where this is
Planchette, not
going?
actually-
Is that who you are? Is that the kind of person you are?
Yeah, I realized I walked right into that one.
You know
I feel like
hard
that
piece of
sounds like
wood?
a girl name, though.
It does.
Planchette.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like something you catch after.
Wait, isn't it Kate Blanchett or something?
No, it's Blanchett.
Oh,
isn't
Blanchett.
Planchette.
There we
Yeah,
go.
close enough.
it? Yeah.
Close enough. You get it. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, so a hard piece of wood named planchette.
Yeah, Planchette. All users are required to place at least one finger on it while playing in order for it to move. The board's recommended playing age is 8 years and above.
Years, damn.
It is now manufactured by Hasbro, which is a toy company, so that's kind of funny. So the Ouija board has a couple of unspoken rules, unofficial rules, if you will, that you should follow when and if you decide to play with it. Rule number 1, never ask when you're going to die.
Which is the rule that like almost everybody breaks.
Exactly.
Everybody breaks.
Rule number 2, never play alone, which I feel like it'd be
I feel
kind
like
of...
a lot of people play alone.
You think so? I feel like it would be boring to play alone, but maybe.
Well,
Not
I've
unless
heard
you're
of-
looking for that rush of like making it extra creepy. You're all by yourself.
That's
yeah,
true.
Or if you're like trying to contact the dead.
Yeah, I've heard lots of stories of people who are involved in the occult and stuff, or Wiccans or what have you and stuff, that play alone a lot of times and communicate with some type of being. I think even in The Exorcist, isn't she playing alone?
Or was it? Did she have a sister or something? I don't remember.
She does
No.
not.
No.
Yeah, I think she's
She
playing
probably
alone.
played alone.
I think
Yeah,
she's
she's
playing alone, if I remember
She
correctly.
broke the rules. That's what.
That's why
I
she
see.
got-
That's what. If she had played
She
with
played
someone
alone.
else, man.
She asked when she was gonna die.
Yeah, she fucking broke all the rules.
Well, that leads to rule number 3: never talk about God. Never mention God. It's rule number 3.
That's interesting.
That's an interesting one, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
feel like it kind of makes sense. I feel like it makes sense depending on who you're talking to, because if like some people believe that there's like friendly spirits, then like why would mentioning God do anything?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? But if these are like demonic or evil spirits, then of course, yeah, they probably would. So I guess it depends who you're asking, right, or who you're talking to, and who's gonna play the game. But rule number 4 is always say goodbye, which is a popular rule. I feel like a lot of people say that.
Of course, you
Yeah.
gotta be polite, duh. Especially when you're dealing with demonic spirits.
Common courtesy amongst realms, dude. Like you gotta,
Come on.
jeez,
Amongst
who fucking raised these people.
Amongst realms. That's good. That's
Is it
good.
Mortal Kombat or what?
Yeah, and then also, yeah, you're supposed to say goodbye and close it out correctly in order to keep the spirit from either attaching itself to you. That's actually leads me to like my next point of like I feel like that's like total bullshit, but that's just my opinion.
Why do you think it's total bullshit?
Because I feel like a spirit would not listen to us. Like, who the fuck are we? Like, why is saying goodbye gonna make the spirit like, oh, I have no power? Like, he said goodbye, that means I can't haunt this bitch. Like, I can't stalk him, or I can't possess him because he said goodbye or because he closed it out correctly. I feel like that's why I feel like it's bogus, because I'd be like, if a demon wants to possess you or a spirit wants to oppress you or mess with you, it's gonna do it. Yeah. Especially if you're the one seeking it out, or if you're the one like messing with it,
inviting it in. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like you saying goodbye, or like these like rules that people have constructed, I feel like that has no power over them, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. What do you think?
Maybe they just made the rules just because every board game needs rules and shit. I don't know.
Something's missing from this.
Let's make up some rules.
Well, these are unofficial.
I remember the first time I heard about the Ouija board period was from actual Bone Thugs and Harmony, who have a song called Mr. Ouija on their first two albums, Creeping on a Come Up and East 1999, where they straight up asked the Ouija board, like, are you with me and am I going to die a bloody murder? Is the question they asked repeatedly.
They broke rule number 1.
They break the rule, but they were together. And they didn't say goodbye also, so... Damn. But they're still alive today. Millionaires. So who knows? I don't know.
That's true. What do you think about it?
I'm like with you on it, but then I also remember like over the years I've heard of people saying that I'll admit it's mostly in movies, but people saying that
I'll admit my research is mostly
yeah. I'm not about to act like I know shit. I'm just saying, like, I've heard people say that the spirit realm does operate on a set of rules. Like there's almost like protocol. Like there's certain words that do have power, or there's certain guidelines that spirits have to follow, but that also could be bullshit. I don't know.
So saying goodbye could really mean goodbye. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know, because it goes against what this guy's saying.
Yeah. I mean...
Well, like I said, I'm with him because, we, with the backgrounds, the religious backgrounds we've come to believe that, spirits are not going to respect you. They'll do what they want. They have that power, especially if you let them in. Like you have the power to cast them out, but you also have the power to let them in, and if you do, they can run amok. So I don't know.
What do you think, Judah, man?
Honestly, I'm with Darius on this one. Like, if you're opening and you're like seeking spirits to come in, I don't see how like saying goodbye would like make them go away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's like YouTube channels that I watch because I like Ghost Adventures and people like going out there. And they messed with the Ouija board and they followed all the rules, say goodbye to everything, and they say they felt like they got an attachment of like a spirit on them. So I'm like, if they said goodbye, like, why do they think they have an attachment on them? Because they say things happen, stuff in the apartment, or they've seen shadow figures or whatever.
Yeah, it's true.
Which I'm like, I feel like that's realistic because I feel like goodbye would not make the spirit just go away.
Right. But you said that on here it says there's a certain way to close it out. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you do that? How do you close out the Ouija board? You fuck with the Ouija board, how do you properly close it out, supposedly?
Well, it just says close correctly in like by saying goodbye. But that actually brings me to what I want to kind of touch on real quickly is I found this like old this old PDF of the old directions from like the old like vintage Ouija board. And so these aren't the rules, but these are like the directions sheet that came in the actual package of when you bought the Ouija board. And so the directions go: place the board upon the knees of two persons, lady and gentleman preferred, with the small table upon the board. Place the fingers lightly but firmly, without pressure, upon the table so as to allow it to move easily and freely. In from 1 to 5 minutes, the table will commence to move, at first slowly, then faster, and will then be able to talk or answer questions. The letters and numerals forming words and sentences will appear in the glass opening or lens of the small table. That's like the first one. And then it says, second, care should be taken that one person only should ask questions at a time as to avoid confusion, and the question should be put plainly and accurately. Number 3, to obtain the best results, it is important that the persons present should concentrate their minds upon the matter in question and avoid other topics. Have no one at the table who will not sit seriously and respectfully. If you use it in a frivolous spirit, asking ridiculous questions, laughing over it, you naturally get undeveloped influences around you. Number 4, the Ouija is a great mystery, and we do not claim to give exact directions for its management. Neither do we claim that it at all times and under all circumstances will it work equally well. But we do claim and guarantee that with responsible and patience, but we do claim and guarantee that with responsible patience and judgment, it will more than satisfy your greatest expectation. So pretty much what I gathered from that was that, like, you all have to be respectful and serious. Don't be laughing around.
Right.
If you want to get, like, the best results. It's what the directions are saying. Do I believe that's true? I don't know. But it sounds like the creator is saying that you have to take it seriously and really focus on it. Yeah. And, yeah.
Right. But then years later, the guy's like, oh, this is perfect to try to get it on with some girl. Whatever. Which that's what you said, right?
Relationship thing.
I think that was the next guy.
The next guy was just like, man, fuck these rules.
And...
Like, just have fun and try to get laid.
Yeah.
Wait, who did that?
I don't know which one of the guys told.
Bond was the one who, like, started it. And then who took over again?
Oh, yeah, William Fold.
Fold. Okay, so
yeah,
then it would be Fold you're talking about.
Fold was just like, yo, this is a perfect dating thing.
Use it for a relationship.
I see what you're saying. Sorry, I was confused for a minute. Yeah, he advertised it as a dating activity.
So it kind of goes against this whole take it seriously.
Which is funny because I feel like he took it seriously because he actually used it and he followed its directions a lot. That's actually what got him killed. But, you know, he's the one who, like, made the factory in Baltimore.
It's a marketing tactic to sell.
The marketing tactic. Yeah, that's crazy how they took it. Because even in the 90s, there was they were marketing it of completely different. And that was like the Magic 8 Ball type shit, you know, with kids playing it, like on Nickelodeon, they'd market the fucking Ouija board, the glow-in-the-dark Ouija board, and they had kids asking like, oh, am I going to be a famous basketball player? Will my mom let me go out tomorrow night? That
Newsflash, honey, you're 5'2". No, you're not.
The fucking Ouija board says that. Damn.
Like, damn. Crushing kids' dreams, bro.
Yeah, but it's crazy how they market it differently from you know, him being all serious and shit. And that's weird, too. The Exorcist came out. This is the 90s, so Exorcist came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's all evil or whatever, and yet they're still promoting it to kids and stuff, so... That's pretty interesting. You said 8 to what? It was like from ages
starting 8 and up.
That's gnarly, dude. 8 years old playing with the Ouija board. That's insane.
Yeah. I was going to add a third opinion to the whole thing about closing it out. Mm-hmm. Thinking about just the basics of a door. Like, if you open that door, you're allowing things to come in, and closing it properly, you're keeping more things from coming in. You're sealing that entranceway. But what's in here is already in here, and it's not going to get out until you make it get out, until you let it out.
That's a good representation of that.
So, I mean, that's probably why, like you were saying, like some people, they close it out correctly, but they still experience weird shit. It's because they already let something in and it's still there. So, they closed the portal, but something was left behind.
These are good perspectives. That's why I like that there's 4 of us, because different perspectives, different opinions, different views, right? We don't always agree.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like,
yeah.
All right, so now we're going to cover a few cases that involve the Ouija board, both true crime and paranormal. So let's get into that. So there have been many instances where people claim to have written books that were inspired by their use of the Ouija board. And there's people who claim that they were instructed to write certain things or certain poetry because of the Ouija board. In 1916, there was a person named Mrs. Pearl Curran, and she made headlines when she began writing poems and stories that she claimed were dictated by the Ouija board and by the spirit of a 17th century. Oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, she claims that
about, right?
she was
Yeah, that's what I was
dictated
talking
by
about,
the
right.
spirit of a 17th century English woman called Patience Worth.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you continue, man.
Oh, no.
You
I
got
was
the
gonna,
details. Yeah.
It's all you, bro, if you got it.
You got the
You're the host, man.
So this chick, Pearl, we'll just call her Pearl. She claimed to be in communication with a 17th century spirit by the name of Patience Worth, and that this spirit gave her these poems and these stories to write, and that's what she published, which is pretty interesting. And the following year, Pearl's friend Emily Grant Hutchings claimed that her book, the book's name is Jap Heron, was communicated via Ouija board by the late Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain. That's interesting.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
A writer named James Merrill wrote a poem in 1982 entitled "The Changing Light at Sandovar," and that poem won the National Book Critics Circle Award, and he claimed to have consulted with the Ouija board while writing that. So that's some interesting news for you. Got any comments about any of that?
I think it's crazy how they write like all these poems. Like, just imagine, because the Ouija board spells out the word. Like, if it gave them the poem. Just
Oh,
imagine
yeah.
how
That
long
is
it would take.
true.
They're like sitting there for like 2 hours, just like
A-N-D.
right.
Yeah.
Just like
That's a great point. I never thought of that, actually. All right, let's get into a couple more. So there have been many cases where people have committed horrendous crimes and murders and go on to blame the Ouija board, stating that the board told them to do so or made them do it, just stuff like that. So in 1921, the New York Times reported that a Chicago woman being sent to a psychiatric hospital tried to explain to doctors that she wasn't suffering from mania, but that the Ouija board spirits had told her to leave her mother's dead body in the living room for 15 days before burying her in the backyard. Additionally, in 1941, a 23-year-old gas station attendant from New Jersey told the New York Times that he joined the Army because he consulted with the Ouija board, and the Ouija board instructed him to join the Army. So, yeah. In 2001, the mayor of Minko, Oklahoma, I guess Minko is the name of the city, was murdered by his mother-in-law, who stabbed him in his sleep, and her defense was that the Ouija board told her that her son-in-law was evil and must be killed. And then another case, a man drowned his dog in 2015 after a Ouija board told him that the dog was possessed by the devil. Another crazy case is a jury, I think you know this one already, but a jury used a Ouija board to determine a man was guilty and gave him life in prison.
a jury used it.
Yeah,
That's
Damn,
That's
lazy
weird.
asses.
I don't remember
Fuck
that
it,
one.
ask the Ouija board.
That's from the last one, maybe not yet. But yeah. And then of course the Ouija board was the cause of, for the case of the exorcism, the real life story.
Right.
But then the last one that I have here is Alice Cooper claims he consulted a Ouija board and that he got his name from a Ouija board because he communicated with a witch named Alice Cooper while he was playing with the board. So I thought that was pretty interesting because I always wondered where Alice Cooper got his name. Obviously, that's not his name. It's his stage. It's a band name. So I wonder where he got the name from. And apparently he consulted a witch named Alice Cooper while using a Ouija board. So yeah. What are your thoughts on those, gentlemen?
I did research and I did find that jury one.
You saw the jury one?
Yeah. Where they fucking decided, we'll just ask the board if he's guilty or not. And then they found out later, like, they used the board, we got to redo this whole case. And the guy was like, fuck yeah. The fucking criminal dude. But then it turned out he was fucking still guilty anyways.
Yeah.
So
the board was right, though.
The board
That's
was
kinda
right.
crazy.
So, yeah. So maybe there's something to that.
It's interesting.
I have another story, Ouija board stories. I don't got no other crime shit. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there, but there's not. When I was trying to do my research, I didn't see nothing linked to it. Mm-hmm. But there was one girl that I knew who supposedly had an experience. She had called me crying, freaking the fuck out, and she said, she wanted me to pray or whatever, and I was like, all right, yeah, dude. Well, what's going on? She's like, oh, I don't know what the fuck, I just got back home and I was hearing the light kept flickering and shit in my house, and so I started to ask it questions, pretending, playing along with this ghost, thinking it was nice and shit, and as she was telling me this story, there was a knock on her door, and she's like, "Oh shit, I gotta fucking go." All right, it was just fucking weird, and she was crying like fucking boogers coming out of her nose and everything, right? Like, all right, what the fuck? She calls me back, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. It was the fireman. The fireman just came." I'm like, "Fuck, dude, what the fuck is going on in your house, dude?" And she's like, "All right." So I came home. I just brought a Ouija board home, and she's like, and then I started hearing these fucking noises, and the light was flickering. I started asking it like, hey, all right, if you're a friendly person, fucking turn the light on and off, and it did. And then it started, fucking with the other shit, and stuff started to move around my house, and I just started to really fucking freak out. All this noise is happening, and then the fucking neighbors called the firemen, called the police. The firemen were the first responders to, find out what the fuck was going on. I was like, oh shit. So I said a little prayer for her or whatever. And, she fucking ended up leaving the house and shit, getting rid of the Ouija board. Yeah. But, she had the instant fucking, she didn't fuck with it or nothing, but that was like the instant thing that happened as soon as she brought that Ouija board home. She
Did she mention where she got it from?
Yeah. She mentioned she got it from a flea market, actually. And she was in Albuquerque. And she went back from Albuquerque and took it directly there. So
well, that explains it. Albuquerque,
man. Don't go to flea markets in
Albuquerque, bro.
Yeah, dude. But that's a gnarly, crazy story and shit. Yeah,
dude, that is crazy. Did anybody else have any stories that they want to share or that they gathered? Because
not really.
Okay, because one of my friends submitted a story to me, in relation to the Ouija board. So apparently my friend's mom messed with the Ouija board when she was a teenager. I think she was like 16 or 17 at the time. So she asked 3 questions. She asked, who am I going to marry? How many kids am I going to have? And how am I going to die? And supposedly, according to my friend, the Ouija board told her mom that she would marry, it spelled out David for the first question, and David is who she ended up marrying. Well, that was her first husband. And then for the second question, it said 3. And she ended up having 3 kids later. I mean, years later, decades later, I guess. She was like 16 at the time. And then for the third question, the Ouija board spelled out car. So she didn't know what that meant, but my friend's mom got in a very serious car accident years and years later, and she almost like lost her life. Like she was like in the hospital for like weeks. Like she was like, Damn. It was bad. And so two out of the 3 things came to pass that the Ouija board said. Essentially, she had 3 kids. Yeah. She married a guy named David. Even though she didn't stay with that guy, she still married him. And then she got in a major car accident and almost died. So yeah, that's a crazy story. But when she told me, I was like, damn, that's crazy. There's definitely, and my friend says, yeah, like my mom for sure won't play with the Ouija board anymore. She like believes in its power. I believe in the power. And she was just telling me that. Yeah. And I guess like that's my next question. Like, do you guys believe?
Yes.
Before I can even say yes. Yeah, okay. So if you guys believe in its power, or what do you believe in, and why do you believe it? Let's just say that. Regarding the Ouija board.
I mean, for me, it's just all the accounts that we've heard. The origin story and any of these stories that we've heard before of what happens and how accurate it was. Like the jury consulting it and found out that he was guilty, and they're like, nah, that's bullshit because it was a game. We got to do it over. And then it was guilty anyway. Like, yeah. And then that story alone should be enough for anyone to believe because 2 out of 3 questions were accurate. And like we mentioned, because we were discussing, I don't know, I mean, that's how I knew what he was talking about, in case anyone watching this is wondering, as we discussed this prior, and you had also mentioned that it had mentioned a number as well, like 50 or something in the 50s. And so it was like, it was supposed to be, she was supposed to die in a car accident or something having to do with a car in like her 50s, and that's exactly what happened. She almost died, but I'd ask you just how old is she, because she might have
I have no idea what her
more
age is.
years to count.
That's crazy.
Unless, of course, either if they do or have made it to 60, well, then I guess that one was wrong. But I mean, based on what we know, I don't know.
Yeah. Dang. What about you, Judah, man?
Do I believe in the power of it? I believe in the power of the spirits that you allow to come in through the Ouija board.
Yeah.
But then again, I would just say, like, even if you didn't have a Ouija board, I feel like you just, like, being open to the fact that spirits can come in, that it's really you that have that power to let them in, not the board itself. Like, it's just, it helps you. Like, it helps you welcome them in, but I feel like it's really just you letting the spirits, like, get in contact with you or coming in.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a vessel.
Yeah, it's just a tool. So I feel like it's really up to you. Like, you have the power to make the decision to allow them to come in, leave. But that definitely helps you, I guess, control that power or direct it. You know what I mean?
So would you fuck with the Ouija board?
No.
No. Both of them would not.
Like, we're gonna burn this later, actually.
So you would mess with it?
No, I wouldn't mess with it because, like, I do believe that it's personally, I believe that, like, I do believe that if you go seeking something, that you're
gonna find it.
You're gonna find it more often than not. Whether that's if you seek good things or bad things, I believe, like, whatever you put out into the universe, you get back. And I believe that if you go seeking, like, spirits, if you go seeking this or that, that's what you're gonna find. You're gonna, and I feel like a lot of people, they open doors without even knowing it. Like, to them, it's like, and I'm not saying, like, they're bad for it. I'm saying, like, some people genuinely do want to speak to, like, a deceased loved one or something, right?
Yeah.
And so they think, like, doing a Ouija board will be, their intentions, I should say, are pure, or their intentions are not bad.
Yeah.
But they could inadvertently, like, open doors, and that could lead to bad results, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that. So yeah, I do believe, like, do I believe, like, a Ouija board is special, like the way the layout is special, that, like, that brings demons or, like, spirits or whatever? No, I don't believe that in itself is, but I believe that the mere, like, purpose of it, and I believe that the act of actually, like, doing it is what invites, spirits.
Right.
That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Future episodes, I want to, like I have friends who are, like, real life, like, witches. I have a friend who's, like,
at this point, I think everyone knows a witch.
No, that's true. I have a friend who's an actual vampire who actually drinks human blood consensually. I want to, interview someone who's, a member, preferably in leadership of the Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
To, like, get their perspective, because I feel like a lot of these are misunderstandings.
Yeah.
People fear what they don't understand. And my whole thing is to approach it from a non-biased, like, journalistic perspective. Like, what is the Satanic Temple? What does it stand for? Do you guys sacrifice babies? Do you worship Satan? What is it? What is Satanism? Because as you and I know, that's not what
that's not what they really do.
What they believe, right? It's not. They don't
Satan
believe.
Is more of a mythical for them. Is more of a mythical figure that represents something. It's not something they worship.
Right. It's
but
like
then
an ideology.
There's people out there who do worship.
Right. Would they would be classified as something else? Right.
Yeah, that'd be something different.
Correct. There's a lot of things that, like, there's Luciferianism, there's Satanism, because the Church of Satan is different from the Satanic Temple, and I think a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that shit.
Yeah. Like,
I thought they were the same thing.
No. So, like, Anton Xander LaVey was, the founder of the Church of Satan, but the Satanic Temple is something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting, but we will cover that in future episodes.
Yeah.
But just a little tidbit of what that is. But yeah, I would love to have episodes where we interview people like your friend and my friends, and just, get information from the source, from them, their perspective. I think that'd be great.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you never told us your view.
Shoot, man, I'm gonna piggyback off of all y'all. Just say ditto. Nah,
that's it. One word, ditto.
Yeah,
We're done.
Ditto, that's it. Peace.
No,
I think you give power to whatever. I've fucked with it. I've messed with it, but it's just whatever to me, really. I just don't see no purpose in fucking with it, really. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to, like, even as a game, even if from a game, I'd rather play Uno cards or some shit. Like, Ouija does not sound appealing. It was appealing to me, and I did it, but only because of the Bone Thugs and Harmony, because of the Exorcist movie, because of the all the macabre shit, the stories that went along with
interest.
it. Right, that's
curiosity.
There you go. Yeah, curiosity.
I feel like most
kills a
people
cat.
do it out of curiosity for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's some times where I'm like, I kind of want to use it just to see like if
Just
I
to see
will
what
experience
happens, right,
anything.
yeah.
But then I'm also kind of scared, like if I do experiencing, like how bad is it gonna be?
Yeah,
Right.
And is it gonna be continuous? Like you know what I
Right.
mean? But yeah, it's definitely really scary.
Or even like the Bloody Mary thing. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah,
The like,
turn the lights off.
Oh yeah.
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary
Yeah.
3 times or
Yeah.
something.
yeah, like supposedly people have experienced stuff with that too. I don't know if that's real, but yeah, it's just crazy. Like there's these things that exist that have like this, I don't know, allure to it. These stories that go with it, but I don't know if they're real.
Yeah.
Who knows? Could be.
I wouldn't
I
recommend
mean, I'm
it.
sure like plenty of them are real, but then plenty of them are fake because some people just
Yeah.
want to make stuff up and I don't know, for lack of better phrases, get attention. I don't
That's
know.
true. Yeah, have a story to tell at parties or something.
Yeah.
If nothing else. But yeah, no, like I was actually gonna say, I think one of you guys mentioned like it having like the power, or like it has the power you give it, or something like
yeah,
that.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You give
Um,
it its power.
Because like when I went to for those who know you or watch Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans is like the founder of that, and he has his own. I don't know if you know this, but he has his own haunted museum in Las Vegas. Zach Bagans Haunted Museum, and he's got like the most haunted artifacts from all over the world in that museum. He's got the Dybbuk box, which the movie The Possession was based on that. He had the Annabelle doll for a time there. He's got a lot of haunted dolls though. He literally has a room. It's actually like a closet, a very small room.
That is somebody's nightmare right there.
Dude, it really is. It's a room, a really small room of nothing but haunted dolls. And of course, you don't have to go in it, but a lot of people went in it and dude, yeah, it's creepy. I went in it. But like there's like the whole museum, it's like literally, I don't know, it was a lot of rooms though. Like it was like a lot of rooms. Like I think it was like 3 stories. There was like a basement. There's a first story, the basement, and then there's a second floor. So yeah, I think it's like 3 stories total. Yeah. And there was a lot of room, like a bunch. So it was definitely, for those who have never been, definitely go check it out if you're into that. It's worth the money. It's a little pricey, but it's worth it to me because you get like it's like a 2-hour tour. But yeah, they like give you the option. You have to sign waivers, like hey, if something follows you home, if you get possessed,
Shit, yeah.
you can't sue us because you.
Because you knew better.
Yeah,
Told
you knew better. So yeah, there was times where the tour guide would be like, yeah, so like where we're about to go into next is a extremely haunted item, and some people have reported feeling this way or reported going home with this and that. So if you're not okay with that, or if you don't want to see this or be in the room with it, now's your time to wait in the hallway while the rest of the tour, goes on. So there were several times where that happened. But yeah, no, I went through the whole thing. I didn't leave at all for any of it. And I'm fine. Nothing attached itself to me, and I'm good. So.
Is there any like spiritual, like, for lack of better terms, like security in place there? Like, I don't know what
At the
he
museum?
may believe in, but
I feel like he's Catholic. I'm not
Yeah?
sure. I feel like he is because
I was gonna say, like, I mean, is there like maybe a blessing over that hallway that keeps things in the rooms, or is there like incantations inscribed anywhere, anything at all?
Yeah, no, that's a great. I'm glad you asked that because supposedly the most haunted object like in the world is the Dybbuk box, and the Dybbuk box, he keeps it in a case, and the case is surrounded by like these like Jewish prayers, and like, so yeah, it is definitely like protected, quote unquote. Again, it's like if you believe it. Some people think it's bullshit, but there's like prayers and like stuff that like it's been blessed by a rabbi, and a lot of it is just stuff I don't remember. Like a lot of it is protected by certain things.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember like what specifically. I know that in his gift shop, because like once you exit, there's like a gift shop that he has holy water. He's got sage. He's got stuff like that,
I just picture somebody buying the holy water.
like bathing in it. Yeah, dude. It's pretty cool. I definitely would go back. It's cool. They definitely set the mood though, like to get you scared.
Oh, of course.
Like while you're waiting in line, they have like the movie, like they have movies playing, or not movies, but like
Clips.
clips of it, and like Zach Bagans interviews of people who've been in it. Zach Bagans is talking on the screen. You know, it's like they're trying to get you like riled up for sure for the museum. But it was a great experience. I would definitely go back. I recommend anyone go there if you're into paranormal stuff.
Hell yeah!
But like, you got to be willing to sign that waiver though. But yeah, any closing remarks or closing questions or topics for this subject of the history of the Ouija board?
Yeah, I got a question for all of y'all. All right. You could contact anybody using the Ouija board. Who would you contact? Anybody in the history. Man.
Anybody in the history of the
In the fucking world.
mythological, or they have to be real?
Nah, they have to be real and
Okay,
dead,
that's
man. We're talking about the dead,
I mean,
man.
if you think they're if you think they're a myth, why are you even gonna bother? Like,
Yeah,
I just
man.
want to see if
Chewbacca.
Thor's real, man. Come on.
Hey man, we all have our things, right?
Who would you want to encounter?
Well, it's not like you're gonna go to dinner with them. It's just like
Now, you have 30 minutes to fucking have a conversation with them. 30 minutes
Go to dinner.
to bring up whoever. And you could have dinner with them if that's your thing. If you're mythological creatures and you want to have dinner, fuck, go for it, man.
That's a tough one, dude.
What was the name of the guy again after Bond? Who
William Fold.
Fold. I wanted to say Ford. I was like, I don't say that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably him, and be like, "What the fuck, bro?"
WTF, WTF, OMG. That's fine.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm doing that. I'm doing that all wrong. That's not how you. You just ask it, and then it talks back to you that way.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Habit. Sorry.
Yeah. In doing this research, actually, I found out that Houdini, the magician, actually despised the fucking Ouija board.
Really?
Yeah, man, was because he knew it was to be bullshit, and he was like, found out about the Fox sisters, and was like, man, all this shit's a hoax, is bullshit, and he set out to debunk it. And actually, when he died, he gave his wife a secret word, a phrase, and he's like, all right, I want you to go house to house and, whatever to make money. And also, if anybody can find out what that word is using the Ouija board, then, then obviously you'll give them lots of money. Otherwise, they'd have to pay you. So that was another gimmick. So even after he died, he used the Ouija board as a gimmick to make money to support his wife. So they can, and another way to just stick it to the fucking Ouija board company or whatever. Like,
that's pretty
it's
cool.
all bullshit. So yeah,
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. This is
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So
But going back to your question, I would say Elvis.
you Elvis?
Yeah, I would
All
contact Elvis just to say what's up.
Say what's up.
I don't know.
That's
'Cause I
cool.
like Elvis. Obviously his music will go on for many years.
Yeah. He
Um,
died on a toilet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to ask him did you really just shit yourself and so hard you died or what?
You're supposed to
What did you
ask
eat
it
before you
serious
died?
questions. Not to be
I would
frivolous
probably-
with it.
I would probably do the Ouija board with Jesus, because then you could straight up ask him yo, who's right and who's wrong? Are you really who people say you are or not?
Dude, you'd be going against the rules though, man. If he really is God, you're not
you
supposed to
can't
ask
bring up
God.
God.
I mean, those are fake rules. I mean, those are
If
rules.
he is God,
Well, you never know, because what if he's nah, bro, I'm just a dude? Then it's
you contact some guy
so
named
many people are
Jesus,
wrong.
a fucking gardener
Literally
named
millions
Jesus.
of people are wrong, and they need to know, bro. They need to know.
Yeah.
Well, because Christianity is the most popular religion in the world, so I figure I'd rather have a conversation with him than Muhammad,
All right, that's cool. That's cool. I talked to that lady from the Titanic, man, because Leonardo DiCaprio fit on that fucking door,
God.
man.
Oh, Rose.
Yo, Rose, man, what the fuck, dude?
Dude, that was
He fit on that door.
We said no fictional characters.
That's a fictional character. I thought that shit was real.
No, it is real, but those
Damn, my
what were
fucking
those
world
characters
is shattered.
real?
God damn.
I don't think so.
All right,
I don't think
fine.
that's
All
good.
right, then
think it was
then I
a
retract.
fictional
That
story based
Yeah, you gotta
on
do real because
All
you
right,
crushed
fine.
my
historical
dream.
fiction. That's what you call it. Historical
go.
fiction.
You
fine.
crushed my
I'd
dream.
talk to King Tut and ask him, yo, did aliens really help you?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that'd be
they
cool.
said that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Talk to King Tut,
Damn.
motherfucker.
So we both chose historical figures.
Yeah.
Chose Elvis.
Elvis and you chose William Fold.
I don't know who I'd actually pick, man. I don't know.
Alexander the Great.
Hitler, bro. I'm just kidding. Hey, bro, what the
What the fuck?
fuck?
Everybody, what the fuck? Hell yeah. Leave it in the comments. Who would you contact and why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would you contact if they would actually speak back to you? Any real person.
Not
Let
a
me clarify that. Any real person that ever existed, who would you contact? But yeah. I think that just about does it for today. We wrapped up the, creepy and mysterious origin and history of the Ouija board. I think that was a job well done, gentlemen.
Yeah, hell
You
yeah.
did well. You all did well. Thank you all for tuning in to The Devil's Hour, a podcast for the strange and unusual. Stay strange, and don't forget that life is short, so drive fast and leave a sexy corpse. See you next time.
Peace.
Later.